Have people here read the Harry Potter books? You know, the young wizard? So this is from Harry Potter. Maybe you can read it in Italian on your sheet there. So this magic mirror enables someone to understand themselves better because it shows them their desires. Because normally with our desires, we don't want to know about it. We hide it in our subconscious mind a little. We can learn a lot about ourselves by looking, we doctors, by looking at promotion. Nurses can learn about themselves by, sorry, there are nurses here. Please put your hand up if you're a nurse. I thought there would be more, that's just my wife. Okay, any pharmacists? Okay, very good. Okay, I should say, you know how I said that this talk is not for, it's not, what I say is true not for you, it's for everybody else in the room. A special message for the pharmacists. That all the research has been done with doctors. There has not been any research with pharmacists. Okay? Now, what we learn about doctors is that doctors are human. Pharmacists, we do not know. So, if pharmacists are human, my messages apply to you. Okay? If you're superhuman, then maybe it's different. But at this stage, we don't know. It's an important area for future research, pharmacists. Anyway, to the extent that any persuasion works, it must be tapping into what motivates us, our desires. Okay? So if you look at promotion that is successful, you can understand about the desires of the people who have been influenced. So, in Australia, you look at the advertisements, and very often it links using the drug to having power. So we learned that Australian general practitioners would like to have more power. Okay? Often it links the drug to attractive people. So we learned that we desire the company of attractive people. Look at the advertisements in Italy and you'll learn about the health professionals of Italy. So what we learn is that we are not gods. Okay? People like us to be gods, but we are not. And we're not devils. Okay? We are human. And we're not robots. Okay? Robots, it's a simple way to make decisions. Okay? With humans, it's more complicated. Just a reminder, it is good to be human. Robots and computers cannot do compassion, or intuition, or humour. They don't have imagination. So it's good to have a human brain. But those advantages also come with some vulnerabilities, some disadvantages. Now, who has studied the minds of doctors the most? It is the pharmaceutical industry. So, this is a quote from the 1960s. In English now you wouldn't say medical men anymore. You'd say medical men and women. But I left it exactly as it was, from the 1960s. Okay? And they're saying that we're human, same as everybody else. That we like to think that we are like computers. And that we are totally rational. But in fact we are human. And so with the advertising, there is often two parts. There is a rational argument, but it is just a facade. Because the real part of persuasion is appealing to our emotions and our real motivations. So that was in the 1960s, and in fact that matches the dual process theories of social psychology, which were developed by the psychologists much later. So now I introduce them. I'll just give you some names. Heuristics, that's in English we say rules of thumb, is shortcuts. Do you have the word, the term shortcut in Italian? Okay. In some languages you don't have the concept, so it becomes very difficult. And so the main idea in the heuristic systematic is that sometimes we take shortcuts and sometimes we spend a lot of time to think about a decision. So, and the elaboration likelihood model is based on a little bit more sophisticated. It says, let's think about when it is that we'll take a shortcut and when we take more time. Cognitive experiential self-theory, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. This is an easy-to-read book for an introduction to some of these ideas. And then there was a more difficult one. Cognitive experiential self-theory says that often we'll make a quick decision by doing what feels right in our hearts based on our experience. This is very fast. This is how all mammals make decisions. Okay? And it enables very quick decision making, so in times of danger, it's the best way to make a decision. If you do something a lot, it's a habit. Those of you who drive a car with gears, when you first learned, you had to think about it. Now you can do it without thinking. The doing it without thinking, that is the experiential mode. You've practiced, you've got experience, okay? The rational mode, that is when you stop and think. It takes a lot of effort. It is something that's new on this planet, okay? We've only had it for a few 100,000 years. You can only do it if you have language, because you have to be able to think in words and numbers. So only humans can do it. It's very slow, it takes a lot of effort. Now, you try catching a ball by thinking about it. You have to compute Newton's laws and allow for the wind resistance to get. You will never do it. You can only catch a ball by using experiential mode. Okay? So both ways of making decisions have a time and place. If you're an expert, you have practiced and practiced, so you can do things without thinking. Okay? I've given this talk so many times, I can give it without thinking so much. Okay? It makes it much easier. The problem is, if you're an expert, to try and teach. So if you're an expert, you don't know what you're doing, because you're doing it without conscious awareness. And so when experts are asked to teach, they have to make it up, because they don't know how they make the decisions, because it's all unconscious.